Listener discretion is advised.
Crushing it today. You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Yeah, it's there, people.
Yeah.
She's real.
She real. She thick.
I'm Kenyon.
I'm Lucy.
I'm Amanda.
And if you are a Patreon supporter, you can watch a video of this episode at our Patreon page. Every regular Thursday episode, we're going to try to make a video and post it there. And from $1 a month on up, you have full access to all of our bonus content, including video episodes.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
See my slept-on hair, makeupless face.
Yeah. What more could you want?
Yeah. Mama don't give a fuck.
I'm repping another podcast today. I'm wearing an Ologies sweatshirt. We love Ologies. We love Allie Ward. Go listen.
I'm wearing my burning Minneapolis 3rd Precinct crop top.
Did you get my message? Because I need you to make me one of those.
Yeah. I'll just order the tea, and then I'll tie-dye it for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You two and your tie-dye. Well,
Gotta love it.
we have
Anyway.
a very special fan pick this week brought to you by our fan picker, Jess Stewart.
Oh, store.
And a lot of you are probably too young to remember that probably deeply problematic skit.
Oh, it's deeply problematic.
All of Mad TV was deeply problematic.
It was not to excuse it, but it was a different time. And
Lowered expectations.
So our topic is military murderers.
Murder.
And Jess is a vitamin and
herself a military murderer.
yes,
Coming at us live from jail.
perchance. That would be quite a twist, although this episode's been on the calendar for a while, so anything could have happened.
There's literally no way to know in this scenario.
Last we heard, Jess was stationed in Italy, so...
Great. Should be fine.
All right, so should we get right to our wine crime pairing for military murderers?
Yes, let us. Though I am going to preemptively let everyone know that I am drinking a different Winc wine because this one didn't arrive in time for this recording. But we are pairing this week's episode with Winc's Declassé Red Blend.
Oh,
and
I
it's
have
perfect.
that bottle here.
It's so good.
It's really good.
It's good, and it's honestly perfect for this episode, especially in my case where reporting was like mostly blacked out from the military
Not
to maybe cover
declassified?
up. Yeah, just classified, not declassified. But it's delicious. And if you are new here, our favorite, welcome and I'm sorry. And you should try out trywinc.com/gals because it's an online wine club that delivers wine to your door. And using that trywinc.com/gals landing page gets you $20 off your first box, which is very easy to fill because these wines are so delicious. They change them up seasonally. And if you don't already have a Winc subscription, now is a great time to get one because the holidays are coming and winter is going to be upon us and you need to stock your wine fridge.
Yeah, it's Fat Bear season, not week.
Exactly. And they just added a bunch of new names, styles, varietals to their website. So there's a whole lot more to check out. So put 4 more bottles in your cart. They take care of the shipping. You can buy a la carte wines as well. Highly recommend a membership because you get member pricing. And then they also make cool recommendations based on like your buying habits. If there's stuff they think you might like. It's just an awesome, awesome, awesome club to be a member of.
Yeah.
I love that they have an app. So at times like right now when I'm like, I haven't ordered my wine for the month. I could just get on the app.
Get your wine. It's the best. So yeah, one more time, head to trywinc.com/gals. Get $20 off your first box and just treat your whole life. So this red blend from the Winc website, A declassified Bordeaux blend from a range of vineyards on the central coast of California. So declassified, quote unquote, wines are some of the wine world's biggest mysteries. So sometimes a high profile producer cannot use its vineyard name or appellation on some of its wine because of a particular area's wine laws. Like every single state is different. So for example, if the vineyard's yield exceeds the yearly allowance or the wine hasn't spent the required amount of time aging in a specific barrel, they'll classify that information. So as a result, the producer will set aside a certain portion of the wine, label it sans vineyard name or appellation, and sell that high quality wine for below market value.
Oh my God, it's like Costco.
Yep. So in other words, they
Overstock.
declassify. Yep. They declassify the wine, and they named the series Declassé, a French word meaning having fallen in social status, which accurate.
We know what that means.
Yep. For two reasons. One,
Epitaph.
to pay tribute to the declassified wines it represents, and two, because that's exactly how these wines are often wrongly perceived. So here's what we can tell you about.
Good.
They're really good. Here's what we can tell you about this particular bottle. It's a blend of Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Cab Franc. It has a trio. This is a trio of grapes that form the backbone of the world's great Bordeaux wines. And they're also grapes that featured the foundation of quality wine in California. This is a California red, and continue to be in the most prestigious wines that are made in the state. All the grapes are sourced from cool climate sites on the Central Coast, which provide great balance and complexity. And you'll find notes of dark fruit, herbs, and spice all wrapped up in silky tannins.
Very silky. Can attest.
So silky.
Yum.
So reminder to be buying, Californian, Oregonian wines to support their infrastructure and economy. I am actually, this bottle is a pop, the featured bottle, but I'm going to be cracking because I have a different Winc wine, the Loves Me Not Rosé, that's been in my fridge, and I'm going to drink that because I have it.
And you want it.
And I want it. Shall we crack pot?
Crack pop. I'm
Here
a
we
crack
go.
pop.
Hard same. It's so wet.
Oh, that was
Laborious crack.
not a satisfying crack.
That was a
Labor
Declassé
intensive
crack.
crack.
Yeah.
It has fallen in its social status.
All right.
Cheers, loves.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
All right, Lucy, what is our background and maybe psych for military murderers?
All right, so I'm going to deviate a little bit from my normal background in psych because I covered a lot of military information in episode 56, which was God Bless the Vitamins.
Yes.
So today I want to talk about what the fuck is going on at Fort Hood.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
So there is a lot to cover here. Fort Hood is located in Guillen, Texas, about halfway between Austin and Waco. So we must have driven right past it. when
Right.
we were
Yeah.
We did that drive.
driving around Texas. It is one of 10 U.S. Army bases named after a Confederate general. In
Which
this
makes
case,
perfect sense.
in this case, John Bell Hood, a violent racist who died of yellow fever in 1879, leaving behind 10 orphaned and penniless children. And that is
Cool.
probably the nicest information that I have about this guy. There's a
All
photo
right.
of him on the blog if you're interested. I
Yeah.
think it's labeled John Bell Hood, violent racist.
Yeah, cool. Cool guy.
Great.
So
I
for
love
some
it.
reason, 63 years later, somebody thought it was a great idea to name an army base after him.
Oh, God.
in
Why do we
19
do this? Why?
It makes
Over and
no
over.
sense. It would be like naming army bases after Kim Jong-un or after we fought these people. They're
Yeah.
traitors.
I
They
don't
lost.
They lost. Get
get it. You
over
lost.
it. You were on the wrong side of history and you're losers.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Goodbye. So in 1942, construction began out of a need for a for wide open spaces to test and train with World War II tank destroyers.
To make a big mistake.
Yeah. As of 2014, Fort Hood listed over 45,000 assigned soldiers, around 65,000 including their family members.
Wow.
And 8,900 civilian employees at the base, which covers 214,000 acres.
Damn.
It's so fucking big. And yet it is the 12th largest military base in the U.S.
So it's not even close to the biggest one.
No,
Got it.
not
Not by,
even
like,
not
a
even
lot.
top 10. I think
Cool.
is Fort Bragg the biggest one?
I don't know.
Because I think in my case, we talk about Fort Bragg, and I think it's mentioned that it's the
If
biggest
it's not the biggest, it's up there. It's bigger than Fort Hood, I believe. So given the size of the base and the surrounding city, it isn't surprising that there is criminal activity, but 2020 in particular has seen a lot more than statistically normal. So let's back up here a little bit.
Or at least uncovered more.
Well, we'll get to it. Gotten more media attention than before.
Yeah.
In 2007, on June 12th, the body of Lawrence George Sprader Jr. was found at about 8:30 p.m. in the Bresci area located within the Central Texas Army Post's training ground. He had gone missing for days while conducting an exercise for testing basic map reading and navigation skills. A massive search had been conducted with over 3,000 parties scouring the countryside. According to autopsy records, he had died from hypothermia and dehydration. According to an Army investigatory report, there were, quote, a multitude of procedural violations, judgment errors, and alleged acts of misconduct by Army trainers that not only contributed to Sprader's death, but put some 300 other soldiers in danger that day, including about 24 who required medical attention.
24?
Yeah.
Oh,
Great.
shit.
This may be the first indication in recent years that responsible oversight is lacking
Yeah.
at Fort Hood.
Also, maybe don't
Yeah.
send out a bunch of trainees on map reading who haven't passed map reading
Yeah.
without any way of being able to find them.
I don't know the specifics of this particular if it even was a training exercise. It just says an exercise. Either way, clearly something went very wrong because he fucking died.
Ugh.
So tragic.
It gets worse. In 2009, on November 5th, a gunman who regarded himself as a mujahideen waging jihad against the United States opened fire in the Soldier Readiness Center of Fort Hood and killed 13 people while wounding 32 others.
I
The
Wow.
gunman, Nidal Malik Hassan, a U.S. Army major and psychiatrist, was shot and arrested. Hassan was convicted of 13 counts of premeditated murder and 32 counts of attempted premeditated murder for the 30 soldiers and 2 civilian police officers injured in the shooting. On August 23rd, 2013, Hassan was found guilty on all charges and was sentenced to death. He is currently incarcerated at Fort Leavenworth in Kansas.
Wow.
So jumping ahead to 2011, Killeen police arrested Private First Class Nasser Jason Abdo, who confessed to planning an attack on his fellow soldiers at Fort Hood. At his August 2012 trial, he stated, quote, "I will continue until the day the dead are called to account for their deeds."
Ooh.
Abdo was sentenced to
spoopy.
life in prison for the plot.
So there are 2 plots within 2 years of each other that are terrorism
Extremist related, yeah. I don't know. This might not have been like a religious extremist. The more recent one, he might have just been unhinged in some way. So in 2014, on April 2nd, a shooting spree occurred at several locations on the base, leaving 3 people dead and 16 others wounded. The gunman then died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was later identified as 34-year-old Ivan Lopez, an Iraq War veteran.
So clearly people on this base are getting the mental health care
That they need.
screening and care that they so desperately need.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here, folks.
Isn't it obvious? Yeah.
Yeah.
No. In 2015, a sexual assault prevention officer on the base, Sergeant First Class Gregory McQueen, was dishonorably discharged in March 2015, having been convicted of organizing a prostitution ring. He was a sexual assault prevention officer.
Hide in plain sight, I guess.
You can't make this shit up.
So
That's
I'm
wild.
assuming he would prey on survivors who reported to him.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
God
horrifying.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So that brings us to 2020. So far, 28 soldiers stationed at Fort Hood have died.
This year.
Wow.
Five have been reported as homicides, and the others range from accidents, suicides, illness, and pending cases. And that also includes one who died in combat. But that soldier was technically stationed at Fort Hood, but I believe they died in Iraq.
Okay.
So this is from stripes.com.
Oh, I got so much of mine from Stripes, too.
I'm kind of a fan of stripes.com.
I might subscribe.
I might. Probably not.
I
Stripes.com is my new newspapers.com.
Yes.
I use newspapers.com for every case. I love it so
know you
much.
do.
I used it today.
Okay, quote, the numbers are high here. They are the highest in most cases for sexual assault, harassment, murders for our entire formation in the U.S. Army, says Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy when he visited Fort Hood in early August 2020.
So it's the 12th largest base, but it has the highest cases of sexual assault, harassment, and murders.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. The Army Public Affairs Office, it says this week, this was several weeks ago, released the numbers McCarthy cited that day, which compare Fort Hood's violent and nonviolent felony data from 2015 through 2019 to that of two installations of comparable size, Fort Bragg in North Carolina and Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington. Mm-hmm. Fort Hood averaged 129 violent felonies committed by soldiers per year. Fort Bragg had an average of 90, and Lewis McChord had 109. Violent felonies include crimes such as homicide, violent sex crimes, kidnapping, robbery, and aggravated assault. And here is just a quick rundown of the most fucked up deaths.
I feel
Devs.
like
Good. Devs.
I feel like all of those numbers are too high. Like, shouldn't I realize
They
that
most
this is a
certainly are.
big population of people, and they're, there's a gender skew and there's a youth skew.
It's not good.
But still, these people are supposed to be, they're supposed to be our
Trained
best. And they're
Yeah.
supposed to be serving their country and their community and, sacrificing for other people and, good people.
Yeah.
Well, there's
and
a
most
strong...
are, but...
There's a strong, just because of the simple fact that it's a military base, there is a strong culture of machismo and, violence and rank and, just pretend you didn't see it, kind of a,
Yeah.
a lot goes unreported and underreported, and then things
Brushed
just blow
under the
up,
rug.
and then we have a year like 2020 when, whatever. Anyway,
It's sad. Yeah.
so here's the more fucked up deaths from devs from 2020. So here's again from our favorite stripes.com. On March 1st, specialist Shelby Jones, age 20, was shot and killed outside a strip club in Guillen. Though a redacted copy of the police investigation shows that 15 people were either involved in the incident or witness to it, a Bell County grand jury declined to indict the suspect on June 10th. The case had been, quote, exceptionally cleared, said Ophelia Miramontes, spokeswoman for the Guillen Police Department. This form of case clearance means that this is so fucked. Means that elements beyond law enforcement's control have prevented the agency from arresting and formally charging the offender.
So
the district
government.
attorney did not say why the case was declined. The Army got involved. Whoever
Hush
did
that
it
right
was
the fuck up.
untouchable.
Right.
15 people involved or witnessed.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, wow.
I,
A 20-year-old soldier.
I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around any of this, which is
That's
probably
just the
why.
first one, honey.
Shot
We got a
and
ways
killed.
to go.
Yeah.
Ugh.
2 weeks later, specialist Freddie Dela Cruz, age 23, and his pregnant girlfriend, Asia Klein, age 20, and Army veteran Shaquan Allred, age 23, I believe they all lived together, were shot and killed in their apartment. The cops found 17 shell casings in the apartment. 5 months later, authorities arrested 21-year-old Bernard Linnell Morrow in Mississippi. And there is a picture on the drive of Freddie Dela Cruz. There's 2 pictures of him, actually, and there's one of him with Chuck Norris. Oh, he just looks like such a
Little honey.
fun, cute little guy.
Yeah.
And they had a 4th roommate who was at work, happened to be at work when this shooting happened, and they haven't officially figured out the motivation for these murders, but it sounds like the most recent reports say that 4th roommate who wasn't home said that the suspect, the shooter, was going to come over and like smoke with Shaquan Allred, and that they had kind of had some tiffs in the past, that the murderer had just recently gotten a gun and he was like trigger happy, just like not a good situation. Came over and fucking shot these people multiple times to death.
A lot.
A pregnant woman.
Like
yeah.
a video game level of bullets.
A lot. Yeah.
Coincidentally, Shaquan Allred was playing a video game when the guy broke into their home, shot him while he was sitting on the couch. He still had the controller in his hand when the cops showed up.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just had to refresh, and Freddie is so cute.
Yeah.
He's so adorable.
Little peanut.
On March 26th, 22-year-old Michael Wardrobe was shot and killed by specialist Jovino Hamel Roy, supposedly over a love triangle with Roy's wife. So there's another one.
Michael
And on May-
Wardrobe. What a name.
Wardrobe, I know. And on May 18th, PFC.
Private
What
first
is-
class.
Okay, thank you.
Nailed
Private
it.
first class Brandon Rosencrans, age 27, was shot and killed in Harker Heights, a wealthier, quieter suburb just east of Killeen and Fort Hood. His body was found on the side of a residential road, and his vehicle was found on fire a few miles away. A civilian, Brandon Olivares, age 28, was arrested and charged with Rosencrans' murder in August. The two had a disagreement about the sale of a gun. And
course.
Olivares shot Rosencrans as he slept in his Jeep Renegade, according to court documents.
Cool.
So these are all cases that I am confident that we as random civilians would not have heard of if it were not for Vanessa Guillen.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to talk about her now. Vanessa Guillen was born on September 30th.
I know we share a birthday.
Oh.
And they had a memorial
Yeah. they did.
march for her this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Born on September 30th, 1999.
Oh my God,
She's
we're
so young.
We're so old.
I know.
I saw her birthday and I was like, well, that's a typo. No, not
It's
a
not.
typo.
Yeah.
She was
21.
20. Not even. She was 20 years old. Okay, so she was born in Houston to Rogelio and Gloria Guillen. She had 5 siblings. Growing up, she was soups into soccer and jogging. She was super fucking smart. She was in the top 15% of her class. She joined the Army in June 2018 and trained as a small arms and artillery repairer. On April 22nd, 2020, Vanessa was seen in the parking lot of her unit around 1 p.m. She was not heard from again. Her phone, keys, ID cards, and other personal possessions were found in the armory where she worked. So, clearly something went wrong. She would not have left
Without
the
any
shit that she
of her
needed
stuff.
to
Right.
get around. Yeah,
Doesn't make any sense.
no. Her family was immediately concerned for her safety because even after just a few hours, they hadn't heard from her. They were like, right away, something is wrong.
Right.
So was she on duty that day at that time and left the theory is that she left the armory with none of her possessions? Or is the theory that she was living her life, doing whatever around 1 p.m. that day, was sighted, and then later someone took her belongings and put them in the armory?
The theory at this point is that she entered the armory. You have to go, I believe you have to go through some sort of checkpoint to actually get into the room where she was working on these firearms.
That would make sense. Okay.
So she left her shit at the desk.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's why all of her shit was in one place. She went into this room to do her job.
Right.
And
so the answer to your question is she was working that day.
She was working.
Yeah. So okay.
And
so
then
then
was
so
gone
then she
without
left
any of her
without any of her
her
stuff, without stopping. Okay.
Which would be quite alarming.
That would be, yeah. I mean, imagine trying to just do anything without phone, ID, keys, wallet, mask nowadays.
Yeah.
On a huge base. I mean, I'm assuming she
you need to have ID to
had
get
a car. You need your ID to get fucking anywhere.
Yeah, you need keys. You need phone. I mean, it's just like permanently attached to my hand at this point.
Something was wrong.
Very wrong.
Okay. And her sister and her mother immediately knew something was wrong. Okay, so she had recently told her mother that she was being sexually harassed by an unnamed sergeant who apparently had reports filed against him by other female soldiers, but nothing had been done about it.
Of course.
Vanessa's mother told her to report him, but Vanessa told her she could, quote, put a stop to it herself, and she didn't want her mother to get involved out of fear of retaliation. It sounds like Vanessa knew goddamn well that reporting this guy wasn't going to get anywhere, and worst case, she could be retaliated against, professionally or personally. Fuck. So within days of her disappearance, Vanessa's family was at Fort Hood demanding answers. The Army was not being transparent at all and seemed sort of nonchalant about her disappearance. They were just like, well,
we will get to some of the downplaying. Let the rage flow through you.
Okay, so this was April 22nd, the last day she was seen. On June 13th.
Yep.
Hundreds of people gathered outside the gates of Fort Hood to protest the lack of information because they still haven't said anything.
Not even like, is she alive or dead? It's like, she's missing-ish, kind of.
They hadn't, as far as I could tell, had not even launched an honest investigation. They were just like, well,
more
she's gone.
Resources would have been devoted if she had been like, I'm going AWOL. Literally, the Army would have done more to track her down.
Also, that guy who disappeared during the navigation exercise, 3,000 people were out combing the countryside, and you can't search a fucking base
when it's not their fault. There will be some sort of follow-up.
It's a lot easier. Yeah, exactly. When they're not involved in covering it up, then they'll devote time and energy and resources to finding someone and making sure that they're safe.
Yeah. So on June 30th, human remains were found about 20 miles from Fort Hood. Investigators reported a, quote, burn mound and thought that the remains had been buried under concrete, but that wildlife had dug them up. So the Army says, of course we were looking for her. We combed through this area with dogs, whatever. Didn't see anything.
Okay, prove it. I want to see reports. I want to see
the dogs.
Yeah, exactly. I want to know.
Show me the dogs.
Show me the fucking dogs.
Okay. What is this? Homeward Bound?
Yeah. Show me the dogs. What are they, in a pit?
Yeah. What the?
Get them out of that pit. Show me the dogs.
What days did you search?
Yep.
Who searched?
Had this been a missing dog, they probably would have found the dog sooner.
Yeah. That's a valuable asset.
Unlike
this poor woman.
Yeah. So they're saying that, yes, we searched this area. We didn't see anything. Wildlife must have dug it up between the time we searched and the time the remains were actually discovered.
Yes, because wildlife so frequently digs up concrete.
I know.
Right.
Whatever. They re-interviewed 22-year-old Cecily Aguilera, who is the estranged wife of a different soldier, but the girlfriend of Specialist Aaron Robinson, age 20. I also read that she was Robinson's estranged wife, but I think that was I don't think that was right. But there's a little muddiness in there. There's a photo on the drive of
Cecily
Aguilera. She confessed that Robinson had told her about a female soldier's death. So the authorities tapped her phone and she called Robinson to tell him, quote, "Baby, they found pieces," and texted him the news stories about it. His cash response was enough for authorities to attempt an arrest the following morning. As the authorities moved in on him, he was in Guillen. He shot himself and died.
Baby, they found pieces.
Yeah. So this was on July 1st. He died by suicide. The next day, officials charged 22-year-old Cecily Aguilera with 1 count of conspiracy to tamper with evidence, which is all they could prove at that point. Obviously, it was more than that.
So Robinson is the one that was sexually harassing Vanessa.
I
think so.
Don't know that for sure, but probably.
Okay.
So here's what happened. On July 6th, the Army confirms that the remains found were those of Vanessa Guillen. The official story is that Vanessa was, trigger warning, bludgeoned with a hammer inside the armory by Robinson. He then stuffed her body inside a pelican trunk, which there's a photo on the drive, which will be on the blog of what that is. It's just a big plastic, industrial, heavy-duty.
Basically what we used to use to like transport equipment on tour.
Yep.
Basically.
Yeah.
We've been seen.
It's
toting
bigger than the
pelican
biggest.
trunks.
1,000%.
It's bigger than the biggest away suitcase too. It's big.
And they're extremely heavy.
They're very heavy. So he stuffed her in there and then cleaned up the blood. The report said that there was just a lot of fucking blood. He hit her in the head with a hammer. There was blood fucking everywhere.
From doing this show for 3+ years that head wounds bleed a lot.
So she wasn't seen leaving the armory. Is that right?
Correct. She was in a box.
Okay, so she was seen in the parking lot at 1 p.m. and then went to work.
She was in the parking lot going into the building where the armory is. So she was seen alive,
entering
going
work.
to work. Yep.
And that's why she didn't. So it wasn't like she left without her stuff. Her stuff was still there.
Was
because
dead.
Got it.
She never left alive.
Okay, got it. I'm a little slow on the uptake today. I need a little more
That's
coffee.
okay.
We got
It's also kind of like this story, I just heard little blurbs over the last several months. It was all very piecemeal. So writing this out in this timeline kind of was the first time I really understood like exactly what the fuck happened.
Same. Yeah. I had only read little, snippets.
Yep. This story has been all over the place. And it makes sense because civilians and the media are just trying to piece together this completely incomplete puzzle with these little scraps that the military are providing or that Fort Hood is providing. It's really rough. So of course we don't fucking know what's going on, and that's intentional.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Witnesses observed Robinson outside, presumably outside of the armory, quote, struggling with a tough box. So he was like, it was really heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it had a person in it.
Yeah.
And presumably a hammer and whatever he had to use to clean that shit up. All that stuff. So he then enlisted his girlfriend to help him cut up the body using machetes. They attempted to burn her, but as we all know, easier said than done. So they ended up just burying her under that concrete.
No.
Ugh.
Stop thinking you can burn a body. You can't.
Also, stop helping your
shitty boyfriend.
Yes. Just
And stop murdering.
Like also
Well, yeah.
stop murdering. But like, exactly. Don't fucking
stop helping.
help. Like,
Yeah.
I would help each of you hide a body
1,000%.
because
I wouldn't
I
help Bill.
No, I wouldn't help Bill.
No.
I would help Zach, I guess. It depends. Not if it was some woman he was sexually harassing. I don't know.
I'm only going to help Bill if I'm on board with who's getting murdered.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
With you two, I'm not going to ask questions.
Exactly.
Robinson was 20, Cecily's 22. They're young and fucking stupid, clearly.
Yeah, but like
Anyway.
he's not a good guy if he's
No.
murdering.
No, he's a piece of garbage.
I can't.
Trash. Okay. On July 10th, the Army announced an independent investigation in Guillen's death. Guillen's death, sorry. According to a letter sent by the investigating subcommittees, they will seek to find whether recent deaths, quote, may be symptomatic of underlying leadership discipline and morale deficiencies throughout the chain of command. I don't know why I can't read today.
Reading is really hard.
Moral deaths.
I don't think that all these devs are a moral issue or a morale issue. They might be a moral
They are
issue.
a moral issue.
Yeah.
Morale, not so much. They might be contributing to
It's
the
a
morale
low
issue.
morale.
Good
Maybe we need to get, Bob Newhart? Bob Hope?
Right?
Who does the shows?
Probably Hope.
Probably Bob Hope. There's no way to know.
Morale is really low. There have been a lot of suspicious devs.
My
So many
morale is
devs.
low. Okay. The letter said that according to Army data, there was an average of 129 felonies committed annually at Fort Hood between 2014 and 2019, including cases of homicide, sexual assault, kidnapping, robbery, and aggravated assault.
Cool.
The members of Congress cited the deaths of specialists. Oh, she was promoted posthumously
No.
to a specialist.
That's good.
I forgot what she was before then. A step below.
Probably a
Specialist
private first
Vanessa.
class.
Yeah. To Vanessa Guillen, who, according to federal officials, was bludgeoned to death at the Texas base in April by a fellow soldier, and Private Gregory Morales, whose remains were found in June while searching for Guillen. So he was the guy. Was he the guy who got lost in the training exercise?
They
Yes, I
found
think
him while
so.
they were searching for Vanessa, or they're just saying that?
They did find remains of somebody while they were searching for Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it was the same dude. No. Lawrence Sprader was the guy who went missing, but they found the remains of a separate guy while they were looking for Vanessa.
God.
Okay. Hard to
Yet
keep
another
track
detail. I'm just
of
like, what the fuck? Where's
Yeah.
the truth?
Right?
all of these
all over the
people.
place. Yeah. Okay, Morales was reported missing in August 2019. The letter commits to seek justice on behalf of soldiers and families, quote, who may have been failed by a military system and culture that was ultimately responsible for their care and protection.
Bingo.
In early September 2020, a bipartisan group of legislators introduced the I Am Vanessa Guillen Act that would, among other things, create a confidential reporting system for sexual harassment in the military.
Confidential. You
Yeah.
can't investigate yourself. Like
No.
it can't be internal, and it also can't be involved in the chain of command. Like
No.
it has to be a third party.
Yep.
Yeah.
A completely unbiased, privatized third party system.
So although the violence at Fort Hood isn't exactly an anomaly, like statistically, credit is definitely due to Vanessa's family for raising hell about
Yep.
their daughter's disappearance, because that is the only reason why all of this is making news now,
Oh, yeah.
and the reason why there is finally some congressional action being taken.
Yep.
It is not just about Vanessa, and her case is not an isolated incident. It is well past time that the military is held responsible for its culture of secrecy, violence, and toxic leadership, especially when it comes at the cost of young men and women who are earnestly trying to make a life and serve their country.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amen.
Yup.
So that
Yep.
is my... Hey, I had a case this week.
Yeah. You did have a
Wow.
case.
And it
Well-
gave me heartburn, and I need to go grab Tums.
My case. So once again, we have a fanfic case that is so horrifically brutal that I almost couldn't bring myself to write it. So
Dang.
thanks,
You have
Jess.
a high threshold.
Y'all are fucked up.
Yeah. This
People think we're fucked up, and like we are fucked up, but
Yeah.
y'all are way more fucked up.
yeah, way more fucked up. So just be prepared for that. And
Great. I'm already clutching my teddy bear, my transitional object.
Yep.
Where's my transitional object?
It's Ray, and he's lurking somewhere.
I'm just gonna
He's sleeping.
grab my sweater.
Good idea.
I
Also,
have my candle.
the fan picker
Don't
has
grab your candle.
the fan picker has a kind of tangential link to the perpetrator, so that's part of why they picked this case.
Oof.
It was Jess.
No. Let's not bring Jess into this, even though I literally just did. So,
Even though it's literally all their fault.
Even though I've accused them multiple times.
okay. Levi Austin Goss, who I accidentally call Gross in my mind every single time. So I might call him Gross accidentally, but you will see why. And it's
Give us the
appropriate.
hot
He's
goss.
gross.
Yeah, hot Goss. Yeah, but not hot. Ugh. Was raised in Nederland, Texas, which is in the Port Arthur area. So another Texas.
That's the
Case.
place that the frozen dead guy. Oh, wait. No, that's Colorado. Nederland,
Say
Colorado.
No. And my case is also in Texas.
Oh my God.
So was mine.
Texas, Texas. All right.
Well, a lot of
Get
shit
together,
happens
Texas.
around Fort Hood. So when you Google military murder,
Well, this is not related to Fort Hood, actually,
okay, but
but it's
I
Texas.
mean,
He grew up in Texas.
don't mess
And
with it.
Texas is also like insanely huge. So a lot
True.
of things happen there.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't find much reporting about his childhood or his family. It looks like his parents are still married. And his childhood appeared to have been like working class, lower middle class, I would say.
Sure.
But that's kind of all I could really discern. After graduating high school, Goss enrolled in the Lamar Institute of Technology in Beaumont, Texas, and he graduated with a 2-year technical degree, although couldn't find out which degree program he did, but it's a technical college, in December 2014. So that means he was enrolled from roughly late 2012 through December 2014, and that's important.
Okay.
From what I could glean from his social media, Goss was really into wearing camo, Chick-fil-A,
Oh, no.
taking selfies with guns,
No.
and using the hashtag All-American.
Did you make up the Chick-fil-A part?
Nope. He is in several photos slamming
Just straight up eating Chick-fil-A?
slamming something out of a Chick-fil-A like glass.
Ish.
Yeah.
Cup?
Cup.
Ugh.
Whoa. It's just a big gulp of gravy with the like extra thick like bubble tea straw so you can
He's
get all
just
the meat chunks up.
Sucking up chicken nuggets out of it.
Oh! I'm upset.
That's how I
upset.
feel about bubble tea. I fucking hate bubble
Yeah,
tea.
I
not
love
into bubble
bubble
tea
tea.
personally, but not a witch, but
I
you
want
do you.
to chew my beverages.
Ugh.
Oh my God. Okay. There are some photos. There are photos on the drive from his social media, which has all been like
Oh.
locked the fuck down, but you can see.
Oh yeah, he looks horrible.
So the caption of one pic reads, quote, "Pistol grip pump on my lap at all times." Whatever that means. Something about a gun.
I'm jacking off all the time.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like, right? I don't know if he meant it to be sexual sounding, but it's not. It sounds like I masturbate all the time.
What's that? There was
Gun.
some
Gun. Plus
Was it-
gun.
There was some like Netflix movie and Vince Vaughn was in it about like it's like the Purge, but like high schoolers using drugs. Did you guys watch that?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a part where these two like super come off as very straight bro like football players. That's like some girl tries to kiss one of them and she's like, back off, my boyfriend's right here. And he's like points to this other like football player guy and they're like, dude's got a sick grip, and just give each other this big high five. It was really funny.
Lord.
I love it.
Pistol grip pump.
No. No pistol grip pump.
Hashtag all-American.
Okay, so from all this information, I am sure that you will be shocked to hear that in 2016, Levi enlisted in the Army. And normally, God bless the vitamins.
Yeah.
But not this fucking dude.
Nope.
Okay. So he ended up serving as a parachute rigger and paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division. His duties, therefore, included what you'd expect, mainly preparing and maintaining supplies and equipment for airdrops. So basically, his fellow soldiers' lives were in his hands literally every single day, even
I
like
trust it.
when not in combat.
In his pistol grip.
Yeah. Their lives were in his pistol pump grip.
Yeah.
And that will be a very chilling thought once you hear what this dude is capable of. The fact that, like, he's the one packing people's parachutes to save their lives. Ugh. So I don't know where he completed basic, but at this point in the story, Goss was stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, which I read was the largest military base in the world. I could be wrong.
I'll Google it.
He's in his early 20s at this point. He is a private first class, so one step above a private. And in December 2017, Goss is arrested for a DUI, so already cool, and becomes a suspect in a sexual assault case that took place at the Fort Bragg base. And was
all right. Now you lost me. I hate him.
So Fort Bragg is actually smaller than Fort Hood.
Oh.
Size-wise. Oh, wait. No, that's true. It's number 14 on the list of, like, by acreage.
So there must be different ways to measure it then.
Maybe it turns out the largest, like, volume of trainees.
Well, it might have the most soldiers stationed there.
Right.
That doesn't mean it's the biggest. Because Fort Hood is only so big because they needed to, like, test the tanks or whatever the fuck.
So largest by population then, I would guess.
Yeah, because the largest is White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico at 3.5 million acres.
Area 51 or whatever.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, that's in Nevada, but yeah.
Fort Bragg, lots
all
of
the same.
people, lots of military, big base. Huge.
Much military.
So, he's arrested for a DUI and becomes a suspect in a sexual assault case. And that sexual assault case took place at the base.
Okay.
And was therefore being investigated by the Department of Defense, not the civilian police.
Yep.
So, obviously, there's no hope of a resolution there.
I mean, not that it's going to go super well either way.
Right. Sexual assault or rape. No one is actually helping.
Yeah.
But we will get to it. So there's almost no public information about this sexual assault case, except to say that the evidence probably isn't strong enough to bring charges against him for that. But his arrest and the investigation means that Goss was swabbed for DNA.
Oh, good.
And this was uploaded into the national database CODIS.
Good,
My
good,
favorite database.
Yeah, the best. And you love databases.
I do.
And there's a hit. Goss's DNA matches evidence collected in a brutal 2013 rape and attempted murder back in Harris County, Texas.
Holy shit.
So this is what happened in 2013. The night of February 5th, 2013, shortly before midnight, some folks exited the Cinemark Cypress movie theater and were dismayed to discover a teenage girl completely nude, wandering disoriented around the parking lot.
Oh, honey.
Actually, at first, some witnesses believed the girl to be wearing a red dress, but
God.
actually she was just drenched in blood.
Holy shit.
I had a pair of red boots once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh, that's so gross.
That's a quote, people. Lucy's not just off her rocker.
Oh, no. It's a quote from a horror movie, and that was by far the most disturbing part.
So the victim, who was 16 at the time,
Oh, God, no.
and so her name has not been made public, had suffered several actually serious head wounds and had lost a great deal of blood, obviously.
The head bleeds, y'all.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
But that wasn't
Lot.
the full extent of her ordeal. Clearly in shock and dazed, the high schooler was flown by emergency medical helicopter to a Houston hospital. Initially, she was in critical condition. I mean, her injuries were life-threatening.
Substantial.
Yeah. But miraculously, her condition stabilized and she did survive to describe her attack and attacker in detail.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Queen.
Thank God.
queen.
With head injuries, there's a huge risk that she wouldn't have been able to remember anything.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
TBI is nothing
And
to
just
fuck
the
with.
shock of it all.
Yeah.
Because it was
Yeah.
so unexpected.
Well, and even all of that witstanding, just the bravery it takes to then go through all of the steps to identify and file that report is huge.
So earlier that evening, after an argument with her foster mother, just like would happen with any teen. I mean, think about how many fucking fights you got in with your parents and then stormed off.
Plenty.
The teen left the house around 11 p.m. and was walking along Spring Cypress Road near her local high school. Doesn't sound like she was necessarily going to meet anyone, but she just got out of the
about.
house.
She was cooling off.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I used to do that, my mom would send my dad to drive around and find me.
Yeah, because your mom is not fucking around and your mom I mean, I'm not blaming any parent. Like this is this is every parent's worst nightmare. This is teens, if you're listening, first of all, you shouldn't be. And second of all,
Go to bed and do your homework.
this
Not in that order.
yeah. Put on your footy pajamas. This story is why your parents get so freaked out when you leave the house or
off.
when you don't answer your phone and whatever. Like this is what's running through their mind.
My mom did not give me nearly as much slack. I never had the balls to actually leave my house when I got into a fight.
I think I did it
To
a
be
couple
fair,
times, but
my mom sent my dad to go find me because she was like, I'm not fucking doing it. If she wants to wander around in the cold because she's mad that I said she had to do something, that's her prerogative.
yeah.
And my dad's anxiety was like, well, I'm going to go look for her.
Yeah. I would go outside and shovel snow when I was really pissed off. Just to
you really showed her.
I know. She probably did it on purpose.
Yes, to get you to shovel.
But it was such a good, shoveling snow is such
Rage
a good.
shoveling.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
especially if there's some ice underneath, you just
Hashtag Minnesotan.
Yeah.
back to horrific murders.
Ugh.
Okay. So this attack is just so fucking horrific. So this is what happened. She pissed off at her parents, teenager, 16, walks out. It's not that late. It's 11 p.m.
Yep.
Walks outside. In an area that she knows well, it's near her high school. Out of nowhere, a man wearing a, quote, ninja mask. So I'm guessing a ski mask.
Right. Or, what are those called? Not baklava, balaclavas or whatever.
Yeah.
The one that's not a dessert.
Right.
Yeah. Appeared behind her and hit her over the head with the blunt side of a hatchet.
Nope.
He had no way of knowing she'd be out walking around. What a
He was just
fucking creep.
near a high school waiting for a stray.
Yeah.
Oh, a stray.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh.
but that's what he was doing.
yeah.
I know, it's gross.
Probably did it often.
Oh, yeah.
The blow obviously knocked her to the ground. Meanwhile, the attacker loses no time, grabs the bewildered girl and drags her on the ground into the wooded area off the road.
Ew, Amanda, this reminds me of that path behind your house that went to the football field.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is where I'm picturing this happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There, he forced her to strip naked and raped her, and then he made her stand up after the rape, and he again bludgeoned her with the hatchet in the back of the head.
Jesus Christ.
She fell to the ground, and then this brilliant survivor queen survived by playing dead while her
Wow.
attacker stood over her for several minutes
Ew.
to like make sure she was dead.
Ugh.
So, for those of you watching on Patreon, you will notice that we had
We've changed.
costume change. And that is because yesterday we had approximately 1 trillion tech issues and problems.
Oh, God.
And we had,
Minimum.
it was a lot. It's
been a day.
I need a new computer and it's been ordered.
Great.
Yeah. So
We're crushing it.
this is the following day. So picking back up off at the darkest part of my case. Perfect. Just so we
Dive in,
can
honey.
really relive it.
Yeah.
Okay. So this amazing queen had the wherewithal to play dead while her attacker stood over her for several minutes.
I can't. That's so fucking gross.
And you'd have to like be holding your breath basically that
You'd
whole
have
time.
to be holding your breath, not moving. You can't look up to see if he's gone.
Nope.
You just have to, the patience and the wherewithal, like I said, required is incredible. She's 16.
Not to mention, like, this guy didn't check for a pulse.
Well, maybe he didn't want to leave finger. I'm not sure. He just stood over there. I mean, it's probably part of his fantasy because, like we know, rape is not about sex. It's about control.
Power and control, yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably the best part for him.
Totally.
And like every single one of her senses was telling her to get the fuck out of there. Like,
Right.
Yeah. Right.
ugh,
Yeah.
ugh, ugh.
Several minutes just stood over her, watching her, and then finally either believing her to be dead or knowing that she soon would be because she was bleeding severely from these injuries.
He dipped.
He fled on foot from the scene. Then, somehow, she manages to stand up and walk a half mile to the movie theater to get help.
That
She reminds me of the woman that I think I covered her in the hitchhiking
Mary Catherine?
crimes. Yes.
yeah.
Had her arms fucking cut
Yeah,
off and walked
climbed
like,
up a hill.
Yes, out of a ditch and
She
walked
like
like
climbed
3
out
miles.
of a canyon with no arms
Yeah.
and like
I mean, the will
hitched
to
a
live
ride.
is a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
So a half mile. I mean, so a few witnesses that night would later describe seeing a man with bloody knuckles that night at a nearby grocery store. The witness said, quote, not overly bloody, but you could tell he'd been in a scuffle. So
Something happened.
Kerfuffle.
a kerfuffle. So I can kind of see why those witnesses didn't report that.
Sure.
You know, if
Well,
otherwise,
working at a gas station, you probably see some shit.
oh well, we will get to the gas stations.
Yeah.
So, an employee at a nearby gas station also reported seeing a man wearing a blood-stained gray shirt go into the restroom and then emerge wearing a clean white muscle shirt. What used to be called something else. And quote, the gas station employee found the gray shirt drenched in blood inside the bathroom trash can, court records show. But the man had explained that he'd, quote, been in a fight, and so the employee didn't question it.
Sure.
Clearly someone got fucked up.
Right.
Yeah, But,
Even if it was a fight, though,
I'd probably question it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I would keep an eye on news reports.
Sure.
Right. And it sounds like that is what these people did, I think. So they didn't like call the police in that moment, but then when news of this horrible attack came out, I think very soon thereafter, possibly the next day, then they, I think, got in touch with police and were like, hey, I saw this.
Yeah.
And also the employee, or somehow the gray shirt at the gas station was retained.
Sure.
So the police had it as evidence.
They dug it out of the trash.
Yeah.
Good for them.
And yet another witness noticed a, quote, sweaty man in the area, but had assumed,
I'm going to start reporting every sweaty man I see.
Yeah.
You're going to really tie up the phone lines.
I don't care.
I saw a really, if we have time, I will get to it about this sketch ball that we saw yesterday after we had finished recording this. And then I was already like keyed up, and then I took the dog for a walk, and there was this absolute sketch ball in the park. And I was like,
sweaty man.
So anyway, witness saw this sweaty man in the area, but had assumed, and this again was prior to learning of the rape, that this guy had just finished working out because there was a nearby fitness center that was open 24 hours.
Still grounds for
if you're working out to the point
apprehension.
of sweating,
being like noticeably
That's working out, I think. So I've been told.
I'm not here for that.
for you to be
as soon as I start to get a little damp, I'm done.
I feel like this is more, it's like memorably sweaty. This man.
Drenched.
Well, I think because it was between 11 p.m. and midnight, I think seeing a sweaty
stands
guy
out even more.
It stood out, but again, not to the point where they would call the police, but to the point where they'd be like,
I'm logging this
weird.
away.
Oh, he probably just came from the fitness center. You know what I mean?
But they still noticed it. So
Noticed
it still counts.
For her part, the victim, quote, described the man who ambushed her as a white male in his early 20s who was thin, muscular, and between 5'7" and 5'10" inches tall, and he wore dark colored clothing, which is a pretty straight description. I mean, that's a good description considering that she was attacked from behind.
From behind, yeah, and
dragged
immediately hit
in
on
the
the
dark.
Yeah.
He's
Right.
wearing a mask.
Right. Good
And
for
she
her.
was smacked on the head repeatedly.
Yeah. He must have removed his mask at some point during the attack because she was able to describe his face in detail, and they were able to create a composite sketch, which we will get to.
Ooh.
So Levi Austin Goss is a
Gross.
white male in his early 20s. At the time, he was 19. Thin but muscular, of average height. He would definitely be considered, I would say, conventionally attractive and like almost a pretty boy. If you want to go look at photos on the drive, and these
Yeah.
would be on the blog.
Like, we could have gone to high school with this
Completely.
corn-fed blonde baby.
Well, he has sort of dark hair. Doesn't he? He has brown hair, I think.
Yeah, it looks like dishwater in some of these photos,
Yeah.
but yeah.
He also has a mole that like literally looks like an old-timey beauty mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he looks like he could land like a really D-list acting role.
yeah,
Or like a
for
really
sure.
boring modeling gig for like Old Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely gonna get like some really fucked up wackadoo fan letters in prison.
Probably.
I would
yeah.
say. Yeah. So he has a defined jawline. He has ice blue / gray eyes. There's also a coldness to his eyes. They're really
He looks like a proud
intense.
boy.
He
does look like a proud boy.
Yeah. And also like detached. Like
Yeah.
there's one photo of him specifically. Do you know what I'm saying?
In the orange jumpsuit.
There's that one, and then there's another one where he's like dressed up for something,
Oh, yeah. He looks like he's about to kill me through the screen.
right? I don't know
like
if he
that.
was like going to prom or what the deal was, but it's like a little bit of an American Psycho vibe.
Yeah.
Because he's in a tux.
Yeah.
He doesn't look well.
He looks terrifying. He looks
Yeah.
frightening.
He looks
He's scary.
angry.
Yeah. So after the 2013 attack, investigators released, like I said, a rather good composite sketch of the perpetrator. So do you see the sketch and him side by side?
Oh. Yeah.
It's a good sketch. But they didn't have any suspects. So they had this great description, they had some witnesses, and they had DNA.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't have suspects.
The sketch is like pretty spot on. I gotta
Why
be
did I
on.
see the sketch?
Although, how do you miss the mole? You have to double click the photo. Otherwise, it's just like a tilted photo of him with his mole in like a green shirt.
Of
And then
him
when you
with his
open
mole.
it, it's him posing with his mole in a green shirt.
Oh,
and then when
I
you
got it.
open it, you can see the sketch.
Yeah, that nose, the
It's
lip,
really
Yeah.
good.
the
yeah.
eyebrows,
And also,
Maybe
if
the
you
best one I've ever seen, to
Yeah.
be honest.
the
And if you-
leprechaun.
Oh, yeah.
if you compare the sketch to a different photo of him that was closer to the time, it's like even more spot on. Like the one with him in the beret,
Yeah.
his eyebrows
Yeah.
are a bit thicker and his, I mean,
Oh,
it,
yeah.
it just looks exactly like him.
Yeah.
So good on ya, sketch artist and survivor. The local community was obviously jittery, and rumors spread that either there was a serial rapist on the loose, not that there had been other reported attacks, but this one
Right.
was so violent that,
Right.
you know, how could this not be just like
And
a
random.
maniac on the loose? Yes.
Like a pattern.
Yes.
Because usually
Most-
rapes
Yes.
are someone you know.
most of the time, not
Right.
all, but this is like a violent stranger rape, which
This
does
is some
happen.
fucking like Golden State Killer, like random scary
Yeah.
shit.
Like
Yeah.
no amount of security caution on a potential victim's part would stop this. And the fact that he was just hiding in the woods
Near
with
a
his
high
fucking
school.
ski mask by a high school,
Just
it's
waiting.
shocking to me that this is the only rape that was reported by him with this behavior is so fucking creepy.
I agree. It is shocking that this is the only one that we know of at this time.
Right,
Obviously,
because
he was then
something this-
arrested years later for the sexual assault.
Sure. But something this violent seems like it would have steps of escalation.
Right.
Exactly.
And maybe it did, and people
Right.
chose not to report, or
1,000% possible.
you know, or maybe I don't know. Like, who knows? Wild speculation. But obviously, this attack is causing a stir, and there were even accusations that the attacker was a fellow high schooler and member of the football team. So like a fellow high schooler who attended school with the victim, but these were just rumors. Obviously, they're not true now that we know in hindsight, but people were trying to make sense
Right.
of this at the time. And like we said, most rapes occur
Yep.
between people that know each other.
Right.
Also, I think these rumors were in part fueled by the fact, very understandably, that the victim didn't return to school after her recovery, as far as I know. So people
I
might have.
wouldn't.
No,
Yeah.
that's a lot of trauma to unpack.
Oh,
Too much.
yeah, for sure. But no one matched the forensic evidence that the police had on hand. So no arrests were made, and the case went cold. Still, it seems to have haunted local investigators. And this quote is a little bit odd. It's from one of the lead investigators, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt because I think he misspoke a little bit, but the sentiment is there. He said, quote, "It's one of those cases that I knew we had to find some type of resolve. I mean, it was that bad."
Yeah, because that kind of gives the
Yeah.
implication that other ones aren't so bad and don't
Right.
need any kind of resolution. Sir.
I'm going to get, sir, your
How about
pants.
your pants. How about all of them?
Yeah, all of them
Sir,
are-
your empathy.
Yeah.
yeah, you left your empathy. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt
Sure.
and say that he misspoke, but that is
Well, I mean, we were kind of just saying along the lines of a similar sentiment, like it was really fucking gruesome. And it was such a spurt of violence. Like, I think
that's what he was trying to convey, I would say.
Yes. Yeah.
And then one seemingly random day, 5 years later, Harris County investigators got a phone call from the U.S. Army's Criminal Investigation Laboratory saying that in the course of their own separate investigation, they'd found
this murder.
This match. Not murder, sexual assault.
Assault, yes. Okay.
Yeah. But just like cold case, whatever, and then you just get a phone call. You just get a match.
I love that.
Well, so this, you might be thinking like, well, he had already joined the Army in 2016. Why wasn't his DNA, like why didn't the ping happen in 2016 instead of 2018? But while everybody who enlists in the military must provide a DNA sample when they enlist, actually kind of for a dark reason of if something were to happen to them, then they can identify their remains. These are not entered into CODIS, the national database, unless that person is suspected of a specific crime, which is to protect their privacy and unlawful search and seizure and whatever.
Isn't CODIS is specifically for people who have been arrested.
Yes.
Right?
I believe so.
But you can also elect, like when you get say you do DNA through like 23andMe, you can choose to have that information shared so that it's sort of like with the Golden State Killer, they found him through like a relative's DNA.
Right, but that is different than CODIS.
Yeah, that's not the same as CODIS.
Oh, okay. I
But
thought
you
it was
can't,
the same database.
yeah, but you're right that you can elect to let law enforcement access that if they want to, but it is a different database, I believe.
So CODIS is, it's just combined DNA index system. It doesn't say, I think it is for forensic purposes, so for criminal purposes.
I think so too. We should probably do our own episode on it.
Yes.
So, wouldn't you just know it? Goss's father owns property near the scene of the 2013 crime, and a family member was living at that property at the time, so he could have been visiting.
Yep.
And Levi himself, who was 19 during the 2013 crime, was attending school about an hour and 45 minutes away. Goss was initially held at the Cumberland County, North Carolina jail on $1 million bond before being extradited back to Texas to face charges of aggravated kidnapping and aggravated sexual assault of a child.
Wow.
Child. And that's the information that I have. I couldn't find any news articles about this case later than April 2018.
Wow.
So I don't know if there's been a trial or if he's pled guilty, but I imagine that he is 1,000% still behind bars today. And Sergeant Russell Gonzalez of the Harris County Sheriff's Department Child Abuse Unit said, quote, "And here we are today to put this monster behind bars where he belongs." So they have DNA, they have the eyewitness attack, they have other witnesses, they have means, opportunity. Like he's fucking gone.
Ugh.
And the victim, who still lives with the lingering trauma of her vicious attack, told authorities at the time of his arrest that she was very excited to see justice done in her case.
Wow. Good for her.
Yeah.
Dang.
And
Poor
so
girl.
that is my case, which again was a fan pick. So blame
Jess,
blame
wow.
vitamins. It's super dark.
It was dark.
Fans, do you know that you can pick not dark cases? Did you know that? No.
They love it. They love it from you, especially.
They really do.
I know. Yeah. But anyway, it's fucking amazing that he was caught. And that is why obviously we don't know much about the sexual assault case in 2017 that led to his arrest. But even if you're a victim, if you've been attacked and you think, oh, well, who's going to believe me? Or there's not enough evidence to prosecute this person anyway, or whatever. If you can, reporting is so important because you can catch someone for something else where there is enough evidence to put them away. And you know what I mean? Like,
establish some sort of pattern, possibly.
Right. It's always worth reporting. And again, it's not easy to do. And I understand if people don't want to. I totally do. But,
you can also reach out to advocacy groups like RAIN, which is national, and they will help you with that process so you don't have to do it all alone, because it is so hard to report assault, especially like Kenyon mentioned, sort of living in a culture where these cases are often not brought to justice and taken very seriously. So we can understand why you wouldn't want to put yourself through, experiencing more trauma.
Right.
But there's help out there, and we do have, I believe we have RAIN contact info on our resources page too.
We do.
So
for sure. And
I also think
other resources as well.
That a lot of times, like, people who are raped, sexually assaulted, kind of, women in particular have a way of like, well, it was like, could have been my fault. I could have been sending mixed signals. It was like kind of rape light,
right?
But if something happened that should not have happened, as is demonstrated in this case and probably many others, probably not the first time,
right?
That this person has done this,
right?
So,
or if it's the first time, it probably won't be the last.
Yeah.
So it's never easy to report, but if the thing holding you back from reporting is thinking that there wouldn't be enough evidence in your case anyway, don't let that stop you, because you could be the last straw in a long line of things and actually, do get justice for other victims and get someone violent and unsafe off the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, nice job.
On August 17th, 2007, the family of Kamisha Block got some of the worst news that they have ever received. Their beloved daughter and sister, Kamisha, had been serving in the U.S. military in Iraq when the family was alerted that she was shot and killed during her service there. The Department of Defense cited her cause of death as a gunshot wound to the chest by, quote, friendly fire, which essentially means accidentally shooting one of your own in the confusion of a shootout.
Which does happen, but
oh yeah, it absolutely.
Could also be a convenient excuse to not do a proper investigation, which is what I'm assuming. This case is going to be about.
Hard yes. So the family accepted this tragedy and waited for Kamisha to be returned home for her burial. When her body arrived, however, the family got an absolute shock. Opening the casket to pay their last respects, they discovered that Kamisha certainly had sustained gunfire. 5 shots to be exact, with 1 to her head.
Which they had not been informed about.
Nope. So her sister, Shanta, immediately questioned the validity of the DoD's claims and began the grueling quest for truth and justice.
Another sister saving the day.
Yep, exactly.
Also, in a friendly fire situation, like one stray gunshot, one stray bullet is very different than 5.
5 directly
one to the head.
To the chest and 1 in the head.
Yeah.
That's, because I mean, even just like the, physical logistics, you're shot while out in combat,
right?
Probably going to go down.
Right.
And those shots are probably not going to be consistent all in the same area from the same, ballistics standing point.
Right.
It's just, this was not adding up. And clearly, it did not take an expert to just open this casket and go, no.
Right.
What you told me is not consistent from what I'm looking at right now.
Right. And fucking explain.
How did my sister die?
Exactly. Yeah. So in order to get the truth of Kamisha's death, we need to rewind a little bit and look into her military career. So she enlisted in the Army in July of 2005. She's basically our age, right after graduating high school. Being a Texas native, Fort Hood was the most logical place to send her for training, and she arrived there in December of 2006. While at Fort Hood, a relationship blossomed between Kamisha, who is a specialist, and Staff Sergeant Paul Brandon Norris, who went by Brandon. Because of his higher rank, their relationship was forbidden and they kept it a secret, but it certainly did not go unnoticed. A soldier in the same training group as Kamisha said in an interview, quote, "It was obvious that they were in a relationship when they were stateside. He was my squad leader. It was obvious to me. It was obvious to the other team leaders."
Oh, God.
But despite reports and interventions from the top, the relationship continued. A report emerged during all of this investigation of a conversation between Brandon and his superior, whose name has been redacted. The superior informed Brandon, quote, "It has been brought to my attention that you and Specialist Block have been seen by senior leaders in the company late at night talking alone," wrote the platoon sergeant, again, whose name was redacted from the report. "Staff sergeants don't hang out with specialists. The perception is that you are having an inappropriate relationship with her. You're a non-commissioned officer. You know as well as I do that perception is reality. And if it is perceived that you and Specialist Block are having an inappropriate relationship, then you are, period."
Oh, that's that. I like that. Basically, like, look, I don't want to hear your fucking excuses. I don't want to hear denials. It's been perceived.
Yeah.
Therefore,
it exists.
There's an
It's
issue.
reality.
Therefore, clear it up.
Yeah. And that sounds great. Like that's the direction that superior should be going. But unfortunately, it seems to have begun and ended with that conversation. Like any kind of oversight, any kind of follow-up.
So somebody was more covering their ass than actually taking care of it.
Precisely. So in May of 2007, Kamisha was deployed to begin her service in Iraq at Camp Liberty, which is like it's like very much part of, at the time, some very violent unrest in that area. So it's a particularly dangerous place to be deployed to. Thinking this would be the end of the relationship would be wrong, as Brandon made his way there a few weeks later. Within months of her deployment, her communications home began to take an alarming turn. Her sister Shanta recalls getting a phone call in which she was explicitly told, quote, "If something were to happen to me, you make sure that you take care of mom because you are the strong one." Now, of course, this could have been because they're in this dangerous place, the stress of serving in this hostile environment. These folks are at fucking
2007 was a
war.
very rough time to be deployed.
But other soldiers working alongside Kamisha and Brandon noticed that the hostility appeared to be mostly between the two of them. So this is from 12newsnow.com. Quote, "1 month before Kamisha's death, a fellow soldier said he spoke up. I am not very good at keeping my mouth shut." Preach. "That's when I went to the chain of command. I used the open door policy and spoke to the first sergeant and the company commander at the time." This officer Hastings said, this soldier. When 12 News asked Hastings if action was taking, he said, "Yeah, there was action to sweep it under the rug. They just kind of blew everything off and explained to them that they had a no contact order. It obviously wasn't working."
No contact order between
Those
Block
two,
and
Kamisha and Brandon.
Yep,
Right.
correct.
right? And this person is like, "Great, they're violating that.
Yep. Do
I'm bringing
something
this
about
to
it.
your attention."
And now there's a history because the initial conversation happened at Fort Hood. And then they were deployed, their relationship continued, and now more people are speaking out about this because clearly the relationship is not it's not good. It's volatile at best.
Right. And they're fucking in a war zone. Like
Exactly.
imagine how inappropriate that relationship is just at a training base, just stateside. And then imagine just the implications of that in a fucking active war zone.
Right.
Not
So
good.
Hastings wasn't the only one to come forward. Others described an increasingly toxic relationship. They questioned Brandon's stability, like the psychological stability. And Shanta believes military leaders knew that Kamisha was in danger and did not take action.
Do we know anything about this Brandon guy other than like his rank and the fact that he
Not really,
doesn't
not in terms
come
of
off
like
great?
his history.
So he wasn't like married, or we don't know that or anything.
No, he wasn't married. So this is from Maxim. Quote, "On July 23rd, a senior officer confronted Brandon Norris, who flatly denied dating Kamisha. That same day, a platoon sergeant sat down with Norris to discuss the inappropriate relationship and the allegation from senior leaders that he was showing Kamisha preferential treatment. In that meeting, the counselor who observed that staff sergeants don't hang out with specialists, issued a stern warning. This relationship must stop immediately. Specialist block will be reassigned to first squad. And if you have any business that needs to deal with specialist block, you will use the chain of command or the NCO, which is the non-commissioned officer support channel.
Yeah.
Norris,
so just like fucking
distance.
No contact order.
Correct. Norris now knew the stakes of continuing his pursuit of Kamisha Block. He could be booted from the army that he loved and earn an under other than honorable conditions discharge, which could cost him benefits and eligibility for the GI Bill. So like a lot is on the line here, dude.
Yeah,
Leave her
for
the fuck
sure.
alone.
Yeah. Get your shit together.
Yep.
It's not worth it.
It's not. Then on August 16th, 2007, after many reports of Brandon's escalating behavior and even one physical altercation with one of his own superiors who had to hold him back and urged him to settle down, Brandon entered Kamisha's barracks and ordered her roommate Danielle Jennings to leave the room. Danielle complied, but didn't go far and ran back inside when she heard several gunshots.
Ugh.
There, she found Kamisha, presumably already dead, lying on the floor, and Brandon now pointing his gun at her, at Danielle, and basically being like, what the fuck are you doing here? But instead of shooting Danielle, he lifted the gun to his own head and took his own life.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Jesus.
So he really,
He was deep in it, and some rough stuff. So the medic at the camp tried to revive them, but obviously could not. The same day, Kamisha Block's photo was added to the memorial wall on base, and no mention of a murder-suicide was made by the folks in charge. So they immediately tried to spin it as a casualty of combat and move on. Like, that's
friendly
what goes
fire.
on those memorials.
Like, I guess technically
Technically,
like,
it was.
she wasn't murdered by
An enemy combatant. Yeah.
But still, this is
She
not...
wasn't in an active combat
No, she was murdered.
situation.
It was
in her
it was a
barracks.
murder-suicide.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yep.
And there are clearly at least one direct
witness.
witness,
Yep.
Danielle.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they honestly were just like, oh, friendly fire.
Yeah.
Move along. Nothing to see here.
Wow.
Literally, yes.
Ballsy.
So how do we even have this information? Like, how did they not cover all of it up?
We'll
Just
get
the
to it.
Oh, okay.
So according to Shanta, the folks in charge knew Brandon was volatile and knew that there were issues in his relationship with Kamisha. She states in an interview, quote, Brandon had shot her 5 times and then he shot her in the head. He shot her in every main organ. And then, he put the gun to his head. And the thing that I don't understand, the command knew about it. Brandon was going crazy. Her words, not mine. And they knew about it. He needed help also. So I feel as though 2 people died under their command.
Yes,
Yeah.
they did.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh,
So within days of laying Kamisha to rest, her family began to investigate the truth behind her death themselves. Because again, they get her body back. They see that these wounds are not consistent with the story that they've been told. So first they reach out to a Texas National Guard Master Sergeant who had been assigned to assist the family with Kamisha's funeral arrangements. I guess this is very common. So in a conversation with Jane Block, who is Kamisha's mother, the sergeant asked, quote, do you want me to find out for you? Do you really want to know? And she returned later with information from the Army that stated Kamisha was shot 5 times by fellow soldier Brandon Paul. Knowing this was not the full story, Jane demanded to know the soldier's full name. And it turns out she'd met Brandon Norris. They called him Brandon Paul. They didn't give her the last name.
yeah.
she had
So
met
again,
Brandon-
covering it up, and because
Oh, yeah.
she knew Brandon, she was
She
like,
knew him. They'd had, so while after like Kamisha and Brandon started dating on the base, I guess they all had dinner together, like with the family. So when Jane demanded to know the soldier's full name, she put the pieces together because she'd met Brandon Norris previously and had been aware of the relationship. And Kamisha had already disclosed that relationship to her sister Shanta as well.
And
So they were
probably-
trying to get away. Were they trying to make it seem like Paul was his last name?
I think
Or were-
so. Why else would they call him Brandon Paul and not?
Right.
And
Yeah.
his name is Paul Brandon Norris, and he just went by Brandon. So
Yeah, his
Brandon's not
first
even his
name is
first name;
Paul.
it's his middle name. So
That's
they're giving
so
like these weird
fucked.
partial truths, thinking
Good thing
that
the-
this family is not going to continue to do everything they possibly
Yeah.
fucking can to figure out what happened to their child. Like
Good
they
thing
think they're
they met
stupid or
him.
something, right?
Like, they probably had a inclination, whether from meeting him
Right,
or from
right.
what Kamisha was telling them that he was not
right, and
good news.
Kamisha had been kind of opening up to her sister Shanta about the relationship and how it wasn't good. So basically, once they had this information, they knew that this was not an incident of friendly fire. Like, there's no way. So it took nearly a year for the Block family to receive any kind of report of the incident. They stayed quiet the entire time as they awaited the results. They felt like they didn't have enough to go to the press, so they really wanted to get more information before they went public with the situation. So Kamisha's mother, Jane, said, quote, "It drove us crazy. When we talked to one person, they'd tell us something, and then we talked to another, and they'd tell us something else. And then we get the report, and half of it is blacked out." So it's mostly redacted.
It's not Declassé. It's
No,
Class A.
it's Class A. She says, "I was very angry about that." So the family continued to push and were finally able to take this story to the press when the report was released to the public in 2008. So that redacted report was sent to them and also available to the public at that point. So again, this is from Maxim. "The contents of the Army's investigative report pertaining to Kamisha Block's death have never been publicly revealed until now. Issued by the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Command, the report was FedExed to the Block home in Vinder in February of 2008. The names and ranks of witnesses and CID agents are all redacted, and some investigative files have been inexplicably withheld, including the results of a toxicology screen conducted on Brandon Norris's body." So they weren't told if he was under the influence of anything at the time, anything. "The Army's report does not draw any conclusions about Kamisha's murder, though it does shed some light on what may have sent Norris over the edge. In 2007, he told a family member that he hadn't slept more than 2 hours a night in over a year. Investigators.
God.
So yeah, he's got insomnia and he's in severe mental health crisis.
Yeah.
And
Just in the course of being deployed, your sleep is not considered a priority, and a lot of missions require, you'll be out on a mission for 3 days straight and basically not sleeping.
You sleep in shifts, like little napping shifts.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like he just had insomnia. His whole existence and the way the Army treats people can contribute to that, and certainly won't fucking help it.
Nope.
And lacking sleep that severely is
bad.
Completely
bad.
cause psychosis.
It absolutely does. And to make matters worse, investigators found what appeared to be anabolic steroids in his footlocker, which may also explain his mood swings. Also in the footlocker were mementos of the affair he was having with Kamisha, including a 5-page letter from Norris to Kamisha in the event that he was killed in combat.
Oh, God.
The letter paints a portrait of a man hopelessly and obsessively in love. But beyond these clues, the interviews conducted by the Army Criminal Investigation Division in Iraq and Texas and Alabama and elsewhere seemed to the Blocks to be cursory and half-hearted. Many of the witnesses claimed they never knew of an affair, which is obviously not true because a ton of people came forward. So,
I didn't know they were having an affair. I stuck my head in the sand.
Right.
Yeah.
I turned the other way. So the Army was more worried. This is Jane Block again. The Army was more worried about the romantic relationship than what they were going to do about Norris, about his psychological issues.
Yeah.
All questions were about the relationship, not about how he was hurting Kamisha mentally and physically, and certainly not about how he was
doing. Right. And there's such a stigma to getting help. And also, at the time, I guess, when was the surge? I feel like it was around this time.
I think it was.
Yeah.
So there was such a stigma to getting mental health treatment for folks who are deployed. And then there were also kind of bureaucratic hurdles put in place to accessing that treatment while deployed, because it was look, we need everyone we can. And are you just trying to weasel out of work and weasel out of being deployed?
Well, and amongst an already existing social structure of mental health not being treated the same way as physical health, and it's pull yourself up by your bootstraps and be strong and get over it.
Be a man.
Right. And
also
coupled with the machismo of the Army the military in general.
Right.
It's it's just a perfect storm of bullshit.
And
to
also
to
not
allow
knowing
this to happen.
not knowing when you can go home. It's not like, sure, you can like maybe have your leave scheduled, but like anything can happen. They can change that at any time. And also people were getting stopgapped and had to, you know, their deployments were almost twice as long as originally scheduled. Like it's a particularly atrocious time to have been deployed, and you just have nothing to like anchor you.
Right.
I can't imagine that.
It'd be horrible on your mental health in the best of circumstances. It really would.
Right.
But the issue here too is that the warning signs were there consistently, and treatment was not offered, and he really should not have had access to a firearm.
No.
Like
Which
when you're
is
experiencing
entirely his job. So right.
I mean, yeah, it's just rough. So the family continues to fight for transparency and accountability today with some congressional support, though nothing in terms of responsibility has been taken on the part of the Army at this point. So this case was reopened in 2019. So yeah, 12 fucking years later, where new witnesses and testimony could play a huge part in getting justice and to confront the competency of the command in charge leading up to this murder. So lifelong friend and fellow Army specialist Amanda Simmons stated, quote, "It should be open to a new case into the negligence of those high-ranking officials. There are policies, procedures, and laws when it comes to mental health. If Norris is crying out for help, he should have never been carrying a firearm." There you go. They should have taken his firearm and kept him at his office. Like they could have put him on desk duty, at least temporarily, while they figure something out. But alas, this accountability was not received. The investigation was closed once again in June of 2020, with the Army, quote, "determining there was no credibility to allegations that records were destroyed in the wake of her killing at the hands of a fellow soldier." So I guess that came up in the investigation, and part of like everything being those things that were inexplicably missing. I guess it was alleged that they had been intentionally removed. That there's no credibility to reports of misconduct, and that a new investigation did not find anything different from the original report of murder-suicide, which, like,
That
fuck
wasn't
you.
the initial original report.
I guess in their internal report,
Right.
they wrote it down that way, but that's not what they told the public.
Right.
So there, again, that mission for some sort of transparency and accountability,
Right.
it's just bullshit. Because
Yeah.
maybe
Also, like the murder-suicide element is not being questioned.
no.
Now that we have all the information, that's
Absolutely
not the
not.
part that's being questioned. The part that's being questioned is who bears the responsibility
Right.
for this situation.
Exactly. You know, because there's clearly more responsibility to dole out outside of just Brandon Norris having a psychotic break of some kind.
Right.
So, you know, like Kenan, I think you folks mentioned earlier, like this is just another reason the system cannot evaluate and police itself, because by its very nature of self-preservation, it will never hold itself accountable. It's so tragic
Its
for these
interests
families.
are
Self-serving.
oppositely aligned
Yep, absolutely.
to investigating and getting at the truth. And so that just cannot be. Anytime that is the case, that's why like internal investigations, like I know technically, you know, there are like different bureaus and whatever, but if there isn't enough of a separation,
Yep.
then it's not going to work.
No, it can't.
Yeah.
And that is my case.
Well, just
Thanks,
from
Jess.
start to finish, this episode has just been
Cheery and magical, relaxing.
yeah.
You know,
Well, I don't know what else we would have expected from military murderers.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Mine was as dark as it was. One of the darker cases.
Yeah.
Attempted murder.
I'm conducting an internal investigation of Wine and Crime Podcast right now, and I find no responsibility on
No
us for how
misconduct.
dark. No misconduct. No
No
accountability.
conflicts of interest
No
here.
conflicts of interest.
None.
Yeah. We're clear of any responsibility for how dark this episode was.
I am going to go
Hands
drink
clean.
way more wine. And also, as we record this, it is October 6th. And I made the fatal mistake of already buying all my Halloween candy.
Oh, why would you do that?
You got to buy a little bit at a time
Yep.
because you're going to go through it yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I cracked open the bag. I've only had one piece so far, but the bag is open now.
It's Pandora's
I have
box.
a piece right fucking here.
See it. I have a Reese's in the other room. So let's thank Jess
We gotta
Stewart for this
Very special
amazing fan
thanks
pick.
to Jess.
Thanks,
you,
Jess.
and we're
Be
sorry.
safe.
Yep.
Yes.
Please stay safe, and God bless
We'll
the vitamins
s-
unless
we'll
they're
see
horrible
you.
Right.
God bless most of the vitamins.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week after we recover.
See you then.
Bye-bye.